Pet peeve. They are, there it is, and that is their problem. New rule. None of you get this right, and it's a grammar Nazi problem. Number one. Number two. No, number zero. They're all number zero. Next. Grammar and spell check get this wrong a lot more often than you want to admit. If you dead-ass check whether or not your word processor will get it right, it won't. Yes, it's something that should be easily understood. No one cares. Some people are using abbreviations because the three letters, THE, are the only ones that are common for all three spellings. One of them includes the letter Y and then RE for they are. So it's just they with another word stuck on it. And the other one has an R instead of a Y and a letter E, and another one uses an EIR. So there's E, I, and Y common between them. So I spell it THEIYR as a new word. Why? Because if you coin a new word, you can give it a definition and tell everybody to go fuck themselves. All of you out there complaining? iPhone. Patent pending, copyright not claimed, open source, public domain. You have to give me credit for it every time you write it out. This speedy deletion cuddle has 6 letters in it. THEYRE has 7 if you include the comma, and it is an extra byte of data. THERE and THEIR are 5 letters, by including 1 extra spacing, making it 1 character longer. You too can avoid this problem by creating literally, because everybody uses the word literally a lot more than they should. You can actually as well. We can't use any qualifiers here. You can help me eliminate the grammar Nazi's favorite toy. There it is. Whoop, there it is. It's a deliberate misspelling, combining all the letters and saying, which definition do you want to use? If you create a new word or expression, like Carmageddon is the name of a video game. That is its definition, it's the name of a video game. It's a contraction of karma and Armageddon. It's a new word. It's a title for a video game. That means the people who wrote the game get to make the definition as being the game. The video game Doom is part of the subset of definitions you can have. Doom has a definition, and then Doom, the video game, has a different definition. By creating a new word, outright, just fucking doing it, you control what it means. The word quiz was a word that was made up and written on walls everywhere to get people to wonder what it was. It was a bar bet to see if you could add a new word to the English language. And it became, well, we all know what quiz is, right? No, that wasn't the original definition either. It changed over time. We don't have control over these words. These 3 spellings for the same sound, there, these are all homophones, don't get triggered, is an example of something that, if you're not aware of it, if you look up the etymology or entomology, those don't sound the same, but you're going to have to go look it up to find out the real definition. I'm in favor of people using definitions and sticking with reality and facts. But this has turned into something to annoy people with. It's a pissy little thing. So let's be pissy right back. Are you tired of getting corrected on this? Well, there it is. What is its definition? All 3 definitions are fused together. It is every goddamn part of it. It stands for they are, and a qualifier for someone's possession of something. That's their car. And also, there it is. All of these words and definitions, everything combined into one extra character, extra 6-digit length version of it. It takes up slightly more space, and it includes all 3 definitions. Well, that's completely wrong or completely accurate. You see, if it includes all 3 definitions, even if they contradict each other, the worst you can say is someone's being lazy, which we already are doing. Now, why did I make this video? It's a slow news day. But the other reason is something more important. Really important. The absolute real definition for when you hit enter on your keyboard depends on the computer you're on. And on YouTube and bunches of other websites, they've chosen to go full Macintosh. Or is it full Linux? Or is it full Windows? Because of standards arguments, it was decided at one point to emulate a teletype. Teletypes run off of a typewriter. If you hit enter on a keyboard, it symbolizes running the roller up one notch on an old teletype machine. It didn't move the head. Carriage return means it goes back here. A carriage return could be used to bring it back and then overstrike things or fill in places or do other things. It didn't have to increment and roll the thing. Also, you could roll something forward and just keep printing where you were to save yourself a couple of seconds of moving the platen back and forth or whatever it is. The head. It's actually a platen moving the paper and the heads hit the same spot, but you get the idea. So there's a carriage return, which means let's go back to the beginning of the line, and there's a line feed. There are 2 characters. Now that's an extra byte wasted every single line. If it's a carriage return, it should imply that you're starting a new line. And if it's a new line, it should imply that you're going back to the beginning of the other line. This is the standard, and I'm not shitting you. This was the standard that was established after people got fed up with printers doing things that were inconclusive and weird and not consistent. Now remember, some printers could not just line feed, but line unfeed and reverse the paper and do printings. You could print graphics this way. Or have it go back and correct something that changed from 5 minutes ago if you were doing, one line every 5 minutes for recording some data. The idea with this is that we don't use those features anymore. We just print out the finalized item. We don't need to emulate a person rolling the roller back in an old typewriter or working with a teletype anymore. Those things that would bang out numbers loudly. Most of you haven't seen one of those in decades. So what was decided, and this became the international convention, is that a line feed and a carriage return would be treated as being the same. And also if you did one after the other in any order, because they could be in one order or another, it would just equal go to the new line and start a new line. That's it. Now, here's an interesting thing about it. There's a line feed and a carriage return. Here are the combinations. A line feed. A carriage return. A carriage return, then a line feed, or the other way around, a line feed and then a carriage return. That is 4 possible combinations of something you never see printed on a screen and could be embedded in a file. That could be a way of hiding data. Steganography. I can't pronounce it, but it means hiding data within data. That would make a decent excuse if you thought somebody was doing secret communications. It's bullshit, but yeah, you can do it. There's a bunch of no print invisible characters you can use for that. They're also called cursor characters or escape sequences. And they're made overt or covert depending on what you're doing. Some of you may experience this, but it's not really relevant. Now we're going to get to the real reason for this video. There it is. Here we go. On YouTube, if you hit enter, deadass, hit enter on a comment or in a description in a video, it will optionally insert extra spaces, extra carriage returns and line feeds, or it'll subtract it and mess with you. And it depends on whether you're on a cell phone, on a Macintosh, on a Linux machine, and on a PC. Under no circumstances should anybody have the idea that if I hit enter in any form, it's obvious I'm hitting enter, that I mean for it to take the next line and stitch it to the other one and fuck up addresses, logins, passwords, responses, launch codes. You don't fucking do this. This is something that was asked and answered literally decades ago. We are way past the point of tolerating this shit. Carriage return or line feed or both in any order, even with spaces between them, or not spaces but nulls, means it's another line. It always has meant that. And some of you have dealt with this when you've tried to type out a message that looked totally rational, that was even formatted, and Google or YouTube or some other website decided to deadass insert extra line feeds or remove them. That's why you get complaints from people reading information that was sent by email or whatever from a Macintosh user saying, why don't you hit enter once in a while so it's more readable? I did. Your computer's at fault. No. And they say, why do you keep double spacing things when you're reading my email? When I'm reading your email from that PC you have, you keep hitting enter twice. No, I didn't. None of us made any of these mistakes. The computers are creating this false sense of failure. It's called fear, uncertainty, and doubt. To have the false emulation of failure. To annoy people into switching over. Mac and PC have been at war. Linux was at war with literally everybody. These are the standards. We don't care. We're Linux people. No one will use your desktop until you comply with the standard. We don't like the default standards or de facto standards. Well, no one likes de facto standards. No one likes that the standard is Microsoft Office. But if you dumbasses make a word processor and don't have the top two listings of pure text, impure text, as I call it, the high-end text, or Word, or whatever standard that people use, if you don't let us export that way, if you're aggressively trying to make us use your proprietary format, which isn't proprietary, it's open source, that no one else is fucking using, you've missed the point of competing. You compete by doing the job in a way that people will use your product. Fuck the goddamn idealism. Idealism in this case is apparently Google deciding when I hit enter, I didn't mean it, and when I don't hit enter, I need more spaces. Why would this rant be important? There. Yes, it's a standard. It has definitions. No one can remember it because all three of these fucking different meanings have different goddamn spellings. But they sound the same. No one knows what you're saying except from the sense of the communication. We have lots of words, letter spellings, that have several different unrelated definitions in them, and we try to avoid them. This is like saying male and female, he and she, sie and zur. When you fine-tune the definitions to the point that they really don't refer to anything real that has to be communicated at that moment, you're going to have a lot of problems. You're going to have a bad time. No, I don't use the proper pronouns for everybody on the planet. I'm not asking your pronouns. I'm an attack helicopter. Call me whatever the fuck you want. As long as I know you're talking to me and you're not trying to be a jerk, I'm good. If I address Blair White as her because Blair White looks like a chick, unless you're stupidly blind, she looks like a chick, even though she was born male, I'm still going to call her she. If somebody walks up to me with a full beard and mustache, I'm going to assume it's a male. I could be wrong. I hang out in Portland most of the time. Obviously I can be. I know literally two women who were born women who have beards and mustaches. And after a while, they just got fed up with shaving it. Fuck it, I'll embrace it for a while. They'll eventually shave it, just like I'll eventually shave my head, because there won't be anything left not to shave. Or will there? Maybe I'll just staple my beard on my head. But anyway, don't tempt me. That'll get page views. But anyway, the point is that when we make excessively fine-grained definitions, we lose things. If anybody wanted these words to have a separate meaning in other languages, they would just make a different word. They would make a different sound. But since we're using the word there, and me saying that you don't know what I'm talking about, let's embrace it. Let's be the bearded lady of grammar here and just say, you know what? Fuck it, I don't care. Define me any way you want to. What you're dealing with is me. It's a sentence. It's a sound. It's ambiguous. There's a lot of this in the world. And I'm getting tired of people saying, you spelled that wrong. And then they ignore the fact that the video corrects them on being wrong about the shape of the planet. I think one of them is a little more important than the other. But I do think that websites going out of their way to fuck with the way we communicate with each other on a literal basis of whether or not we hit enter or not, that should be bitched about. So I'm going to include that in the title. Thanks for listening to me whine and complain. Hope this was entertaining.